All right. Hey, everybody. This is Tamisha Bland again, board certified behavior analyst with Regal BS Behavior Solutions. um, Today, we're going to talk about reinforcement. I want to stop and talk about reinforcement because a lot of what I'm going to talk about has a reinforcement component because behavior can be taught or changed by controlling the consequences surrounding it and surrounding the behavior, right? So basically, consequences can look like reinforcement or it can look like punishment. Now, in ABA, we naturally and most wholeheartedly use reinforcement. We only use punishment when all reinforcement strategies have not worked. Um, but we still use it in conjunction with punishment if that to have ever to occur. But a lot of monitoring, a lot of consent, and a lot of risks and benefits, the whole nine. It's a big deal before we go into any kind of punishment interventions. So today we're only going to talk about reinforcement. Now, reinforcement can be split up into two: positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Now, let's not mix that up with good and bad. No. Positive is when you add something, in this case, and negative is when you remove something. So subtract something. So when we're talking about reinforcement, when we say positive reinforcement, we're adding something that is going to increase the behavior. And when we talk about negative reinforcement, we're going to remove something to increase the behavior. Now, reinforcement increase, punishment decrease behavior. So again, we're going to talk about reinforcement today. So let's talk about positive reinforcement. So when I talk about positive reinforcement, I'm talking about adding something. So that could be something as simple as saying, hey, good job, or giving a preferred edible, or tablet time, or hugs, or kisses. Something that you're going to add to, you're going to give them that is going to increase the likelihood of the behavior occurring again. So if the behavior didn't change, then whatever you gave them was not reinforcing. So if you say, if you want your kiddo to clean up after they eat, and say your reinforcer was ice cream. So every time once they clean up, they get ice cream. So they cleaned up, they got ice cream, right? Because, they did what you needed them to do. But then you tell them next time, hey, every time you clean up, you get ice cream. But the next time they clean up and they know they're getting ice cream, but they don't clean up, then that ice cream was not reinforcing. Okay? So, reinforcers increases the likelihood of the behavior occurring again. And if that behavior doesn't occur again, then more than likely that reinforcer was not reinforcing. So let's make sure that we're not mixing up preferred items with reinforcing items. Like, hey, I prefer paper towels over a hand cloth when I dry my hands, but I'm not going to work for it, right? You know what? I prefer my lip gloss over my matted lipstick, but I'm not going to work for it, right? Now, if you say, hey, Tamisha, do you prefer a gift card or money? You want to work for some money? I'll work for some money, but I'm not working for no lip gloss. All right? So let's make sure you keep that in mind. It's preferred versus what is a reinforcer versus what is reinforcing. So the next thing I want to talk about is negative reinforcement. So again, something that you're going to remove that is going to increase the likelihood of that behavior happening again. So this can be tied to something like if you have a headache or something like that, and you take some medicine to remove that headache. You're more than likely going to take medicine again if that, if that headache decreased or the headache went away. So you got what you wanted. Or my favorite would be the seatbelt ordeal. You know how you get in a car and that ringing sound, beep, 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 if you don't have your seatbelt on. Beep, 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 and it can drive you crazy. And then you put the seatbelt on. The sound goes away, right? So you're more than likely going to put that seatbelt on again because the beeping sound goes away. Get it? So you're taking away the beeping sound to increase the likelihood of you putting on your seatbelt again. So bam, it works. So that is positive and negative reinforcement, but there are some things to consider when we're talking about positive and negative reinforcement. So when you're talking about reinforcement, you want to make sure you're considering that the item is individualized. So if Johnny doesn't like lipstick, do not give him lipstick as a preferred item. Or as a reinforcer. And also remember between preferred items and reinforcing items. Yeah, I might like lipstick, but I'm not going to work for it. I would prefer, I would prefer money over lipstick to work for it. So, which one is more reinforcing? What is going to increase the likelihood of my behavior? Another thing to consider would be immediacy. So if your kiddo or your client is engaging in a behavior and they're doing amazing, making sure that you're reinforcing them right then and there. Like be immediate with it, be exact, and also pair it with praise. You definitely want to always pair reinforcement, if it's like a tangible thing, with praise, because you're going to want to fade out those reinforcers over time. And you can even phase out behavior specific praise as well. So you can go from at that high enthusiastic, oh my God, good job. And then it can be like, that's what's up, good job. Or it can be like, thumbs up, you did it. Or it can be like, get the nod after a while. So you can fade reinforcement over time. You can fade how frequently that you give the reinforcement. So if you see a plan and it starts out real heavy on reinforcement, don't worry. That's necessary when learning a new skill. Like, hey, I want to see you keep doing it. If the likelihood of this behavior occurring again and it's helping during this teaching process, you want to do it as frequently as you possibly can until they get it. And then you fade it away so they're not, satiated or too used to it. And you're like, oh, I'm expected to get that. If they're at that, oh, I'm expected to get my candy every single time I tell you, if they can tell you that, then it was probably time for you to thin that reinforcement schedule. Let me see. Other things to consider, immediacy, the type, making sure that it matches the behavior. Now, if your kiddo never cleans their room and then one day they just cleaned it and it's sparkling clean, man, I hope you give them a big reinforcer, like something they really like, not just a good job, you did all right, you know what I'm saying, that you did good, and then walk away. No, if you just hype it up, it's their first time doing it, you're proud, you're like, you want some candy, you want to go to the park, something like that. But of course, if it's something small, like, writing their name or tying their shoe, it can be something small, making sure that reinforcement matches the behavior. That's a real big deal. Let me think. Is there anything else I want to talk to you guys about reinforcement? Reinforcement is used a lot in ABA. But you want to make sure that it is individualized, that you're giving choices. If a kiddo prefers this over this when they're working for something, you can ask them before they start working. Hey, what do you want to work for? What are you working towards today? You want to work towards some cookies, or you want to work towards some stickers, or you want to work towards some outside time? Giving them the choices, also giving them a little bit of control. as to what what they're working for, and if they're actually going to do it. So always think about the kiddo as the main piece when you're deciding and thinking about and talking about reinforcement, or when you're implementing any kind of procedures. So, well, hopefully that was helpful on reinforcement. Until next time.